Introducing the Champion's Mindset, the podcast that gives your inner game a serious upgrade. Join internationally renowned mindset and performance expert, KATHRYN Orford.
Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Champion's Mindset. I am so excited about my guest today. You are going to love what this man has to say. Honestly, the ups, the downs, and everything in between that he has navigated over his life, if it does not inspire you to keep going when life throws you curveballs, I don't know what will. So without any further ado, I would love to welcome to the show Marques Ogden.
How are you, KATHRYN? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. I can't see me, but hopefully you can see me.
I can see you.
Okay. So I would love to just start at the very, very beginning. So who was it that taught you? Because we were having a bit of a chat yesterday. Who was it that taught you about mindset and what really set you up for your college and your NFL career?
So, KATHRYN, I learned a lot about mindset from our father, Cheryl Philip Ogden. Our dad raised us by himself as a single parent when our parents divorced in 1988. I had just turned 8 years old. And so I learned a lot about mindset, visualization, looking and thinking about what you want in life, how to work through struggles, overcome adversity, overcome hardship from our father. And I also had a chance to learn a lot about from our grandfather, my mother's father, who was a boxing trainer in Washington, D.C. So he was fantastic. So between my father and my grandfather, I learned a whole lot about mindset and how to deal with challenges in life.
And you were telling me that he taught you what you refer to, I think, as your internal switch. Because I was asking you, did you have an inner critic when you lost games in the NFL? And you didn't, because they had prepared you. Tell me
Well,
about that.
KATHRYN, yeah, of course. So what I learned, KATHRYN, in life, especially when you're playing sports, right, KATHRYN, you have to have an internal switch and you also have to have a short memory because you're playing against professionals, right? And professionals are going to have their good days, their good plays, their good series. Like that's the whole process. You're not going to win every battle in the NFL. You're not going to win every game in the NFL. That's not the way it's designed. It's designed to play against the best of the best, and the best are going to have their best days, and sometimes their best days are better than your best days. And that's just the way it is. And so I learned a lot about that internal switch, the bouncing back, all those things, because our father and our grandpa made it very clear to us that in life, you have to bounce back. You have to get up off the canvas when life knocks you down.
Love that. Yeah. And so you really didn't have any of those kind of inner critic issues that I certainly had, that we were sharing. But so you go through high school, you go to college, you get into Howard.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't really the most talented NFL player.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like anything, right? In football, you have like everybody in football is talented, right? Everybody to get to the NFL, you have to have talent. But then you have what we call like really good talent, which I always consider really good talent. Then you have what's called like the elite talent, like my brother or Tom Brady or things like that. And what comes down to that, right, KATHRYN? If you are a guy that has good talent to stay in the NFL, you better have elite discipline. You better have elite work ethic because you're going to have to compete against guys that have elite talent. And those guys are going to work really hard. But if you want to stay, you have to work even harder. You have to push even more. You have to lift even more. You have to run more. You have to have better endurance. You have to have better skills. You have to have better movement. Like that's the name of the game. And so I really was a good football player in high school, got to college and I struggled a little bit. I became a really good football player in college. Then got to NFL against some phenomenal elite talent. And that's when my good talent plus my elite work ethic, discipline, dedication kicked in. And I had almost a 6-year career in the National Football League.
And yet you didn't have any plans to play NFL, did you?
No, no, no,
You
no,
wanted
no,
to
no.
be, what was it you wanted to be? You wanted to be something entirely different.
I wanted to be an investment banker. I wanted to work on Wall Street. I enjoyed working. I had a chance to intern at Merrill Lynch in Washington, D.C. When I was a redshirt sophomore in college. My boss, Al Coburn, was head of the Blue Chips and Stocks Division at Merrill Lynch, probably about 3 or 4 blocks from the White House. And it was fantastic. I loved it. High pressure situations, lots of things going on, lots of people around, lots of activity, lots of movement. And I loved it and I thrived in it. So I really enjoyed that. And that was always my plan. Go to college, get a degree in finance, and then go work on Wall Street. That was what I was planning to do when I went to Howard University.
And your brother played NFL. So did you ever play what I call the compare and despair game? Go, oh my God, I'm never going to be as good as my brother? Or did it just spur you on to be as good as him?
No, I never did because what I learned, right, Captain, is every player is different. Like I'm almost 6'6", my brother is 6'9", our
Whoa.
games are totally different. But what it did is it allowed me to really understand the discipline and the fortitude that it took to not just get to the NFL, but stay in the NFL. So, because my brother is 6.5 to 7 years older than me. So I didn't have to worry about growing up and playing and being compared to him constantly and all that kind of stuff. We never had that. And my brother always encouraged me to do better, play harder, play smarter, learn from him. But he never ever made me feel like it was a comparison or any of that kind of stuff, which was always great because it allowed me to do what I love to do, right? Which is play the game of football and learn from the best that will ever do in the National Football League.
Awesome. And then you leave the league
Mhm.
and you start a construction company.
Mhm.
And it's going absolutely awesome. It's building and building and building. And you are just on cloud nine and everything's going great. And then what happened?
I ended up developing a really cynical, maniacal, self serving ego. And I got so focused on making money, 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 having the newest car or the biggest car. I would buy like big trucks. I would buy Hummers or F-250s or all this stuff, Yukons and all this stuff, right? I was constantly just wanting the next new shiny thing. And what happened was I became this very toxic, very arrogant, very self-centered CEO who became a horrible boss instead of a good leader. And I ended up
Mhm.
pushing away my best people that I should have been serving. And between them leaving, I had a job where I spent about $3 million over budget, and I was not repaid by the developer and the owner and the contractor. And once that happened, December 23rd, 2012, I get a call from our bank, and the bank was shutting down our lines of credit, our loans, our equipment line, our revolving line, our credit cards, everything was being shut down. And come January 1st, 2013, they were going to be coming after everything that I own to get their money back as best they could. So in April 2013, I ended up moving to Raleigh, North Carolina area. And when I got here and I went to see my attorney, my bankruptcy attorney, I learned I had 177 creditors on my docket, and I had about $5.5 million of debt that I had amassed from my business going south because I became a tyrannical monster who was only about money and fame and notoriety. And I ended up sending myself into a spiral. And then I lost everything that I owned in 2013.
Mm. And then it was actually the Players Fund, the NFL Players Fund, that gave you a slight handout, but nothing much. And then tell us about how you rebuilt your life from there, because there are so many people, I think, that are terrified of going bankrupt or being in a situation like you, but there are so many amazing people. I just googled before we hopped on this call how many, what famous celebrities do we know that have gone bankrupt? I know my mom and dad went bankrupt and then they rebuilt. In actual fact, it seems to be part of the key to success for some people. So Will Smith, Lady Gaga, Mike Tyson, 50 Cent, Kim Basinger, Walt Disney, like there's masses of people. So what was it that you managed to do to rebuild your life?
So what happened was when I moved to Raleigh, the NFL Player Care Foundation didn't give me a handout. I had to submit documentation. I had to apply for the Gene Upshaw Trust Fund. It was a very extensive process. You had to do an application. They had to get copies of your bank records. They wanted to know your bills that you were asking them to pay. I mean, they wanted your tax returns. Like, it was absolutely a full-fledged process. And I got approved for the grant. And what happened was, right, Catherine, they paid 4 months of my bills: rent, car, insurance, health insurance, just so I could get on our feet. It totaled about $14,800. It was, again, like 4 months of bills being paid, right? So in that time, the NFL said, Marques, we're going to do this for you. You now have 4 months to get your life back and on track. That's all you got, right? You got to go out and work, all these things. And I was doing that. I was working, but unfortunately, I got fired from a job, all my fault. I got fired from a construction company the very next day. I applied for a job to a construction company. 5 days later, I'm fired. So I was fired from a Merrill Lynch job, all my fault. The next day, went to a construction company, fired from that job 5 days later. The only job I could get was a custodian working in downtown Raleigh for $8.25 an hour. And you talk about people like, Will Smith, 50 Cent, Mike Tyson, Kim Basinger, Walt Disney. Everybody that I know that's successful has had some sort of season that you may or most likely may not have seen. Like, for example, another phenomenal individual who went bankrupt and was homeless and turned her life around, J.K. Rowling. She
Mm,
wrote Harry Potter. She
yes,
wrote Harry Potter in her car, in
yeah.
Starbucks, and now she's one of, if not the only, billionaire author in the world. And she has given away over $250 million to charity. Her quote, I use it, we use it in all of our talks: rock bottom is the moment that I rebuilt my life. And so for me, I had to hit rock bottom as a
Mm,
custodian with my spoiled milk moment, where somebody's trash and rotten meat and nasty garbage got all over me. And that was my wake up call. And that was the moment I said, wow, if I want to get my life back on track, it starts now. I got to stop acknowledging what happened. I got to accept it, fix it, and move on. And that's what happened. And I started speaking at that time. And then for about 2.5 years, Catherine, I had to get one paid job. Got our first paid job in April 2016. I got coached, I got developed. I've been around some amazing people. So in the last, 8 or 9 years, we've worked for over 75 Fortune 500 companies as a speaker, not including other companies, universities, non-for-profits, healthcare, all this stuff. But I tell everybody, to have a testimony, you have to be tested. That's the way life is.
mm,
That's just the way
mm.
life is.
Yeah. And then you're busy rebuilding your business, and that's going great guns. And that was 2012, 2013 when you hit a very huge fork in the road. And then 2022, you then had, and you know, we were talking yesterday about your inner critic wasn't there. You were always just, I can do this and rebuild. 2022, you then had something happen in your personal life that really took you for a six. And
Mhm. And
yeah.
so that was having to file for divorce. And I'm very authentic. That one rocked my inner switch. It rocked my inner core. I was with my ex for 10 years, married 7, and I had no idea I was ever going to get divorced. I never thought that, never planned on it. And when it happened, it rocked my inner switch to the core. And so November 1st, 2022, I moved into a broken down, dilapidated 2-bedroom apartment. I only had 2 weeks to get out of the house with my ex. I needed someone that had 2 bedrooms and I needed something that was fully furnished. I had no furniture. So it was complete start over from complete rock bottom at
Mm,
that moment. And then from November 1st, 2022 until January 15th, 2023, it was victim mode every single day. Why me? Poor me. I was acknowledging that I was going to be divorced, wasn't accepting it. And then
mm,
around mid January, I accepted that this is my life. I'm getting divorced. I don't know why it happened, but I got to own it. I got to fix me and I got to keep working on me so I can get myself together. And that's what I did, Kath. I dug in, I worked my butt off, and in May of 2023, bought my dream home in a little town called Fuquay, Varina, North Carolina, about half hour outside of Raleigh. Business was really struggling in November 2022, December, January, and then right around February 2023 started getting better. And I just kept working. And now today, we're very fortunate, very blessed, very grateful. But I'll tell you, in life, you're going to get, again, you can't have a testimony without a test. In between losing my business and all my money, rebuilding, then getting divorced and having to give half my assets and take on a bunch of debt I had to pay and get my life back together and move out of the house and all this stuff. And I'll tell you, the key for me getting my life back, I mastered one of the most important V's, in my opinion, to get your life where you want it to be: visualization or visualize.
oh, yeah.
And in January of 2023, that mid January point, I stopped visualizing negativity, and feel bad for me, pity me, and then I started visualizing a home that I wanted, getting my life back on track, having good friends around me, getting healthier through therapy, working on my struggles, working on my issues. And I
Mm,
just kept visualizing every single day. I would take 5 minutes and visualize. I knew where I was. I didn't want to be. So I had my mind, which is the most powerful tool in your tool shed, create for me a reality that I wanted. And then eventually my thoughts, my images became my reality.
yes, yes. Every client I work with, they write a script and they actually write a movie script for how they want their ideal life to go. They write it in past tense as if it's already happened. And they read that, visualizing it as they're reading it, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, because that's when the unconscious is still a little bit open. Now, you've got a quote that, the Bruce Lee quote that is your favorite quote that helped you get through that time when you were, going through your divorce. Do you remember what that one was?
Of course, never tell your mind negative thoughts in a joking manner. Your body cannot dissimulate the difference. If you keep telling yourself you're no good, you're dumb, you're this, you're that, you don't work hard, you have nothing going for you, if you keep telling yourself that, your body will start to feel that energy and will start to react off that energy. You cannot continue to tell yourself how bad you are, how not good you are. all these things, right? We call that vocalize. You have to vocalize to yourself that you are good. You are good enough. You are smart enough. You are courageous enough. Ladies and gentlemen, if you make a mistake in life, if you have a failure, see it as a learning lesson. That's how you have to view it, right? Again, my divorce, my first marriage is a learning lesson. I've learned who I want to be with. I've learned what I need to get better at and how I need to be a better person in general. 'Cause I'll tell people all the time, man, I was, it's like any marriage, right? I wasn't a perfect husband. I could always do better. I could always do more. And now seeing that for the next relationship I get into, I can be a better person. I can be a better individual you can count on, right? And that's the whole thing. I'm dating somebody now, and that's what I tell people. You gotta look at how you can be better for them. It's not all them. And so it's such an important factor. But again, right, Kathryn, you have to vocalize. If you're not going to talk good about yourself, then who is?
Exactly. I say the most important conversations we can ever have are the ones we have with ourselves when no one else is around.
Of course. Of course. Because if you keep telling yourself, great quote again by Bruce Lee, so shall you think, so you shall become. So shall you think, so you shall become.
Yeah.
Everybody has to remember that your perception is your reality. So don't just think about what you want, ink it, right? And again, I love what you said, right, Kathryn? Speak in the I have done, right? Don't say I hope to, I plan to. Say I have done it. I am doing it. Talk in that tense. Because when you talk in that tense, your body wants to do what your mind has been saying, so your body does not let your mind down. I know it sounds weird, but trust me, as a guy that was broke, bankrupt, $5.5 million in debt, no money. I didn't know a soul other than my ex-wife and her family. I moved to Raleigh. Kathryn, I had no resources when I got to Raleigh. None.
Mhm.
And I rebuilt. And then went through the divorce in 2022, right? That took time, right? I had to go through the process again and go through hardship, and this time go through it alone, right? No spouse, no support. I had tons of friends, but nobody there. Like, like that first holiday season without my daughters and
Mm.
that Christmas of like, here, there. I mean, it was rough. I mean, tell you, man, as a person that has gone through suicidal thoughts in his life, younger life, and parts of his life from struggles, let me tell you, that first holiday, it was a battle just to keep myself alive. At sometimes it was that bad because I had never ever wanted to be the guy that wasn't there for his kids. And when we had that first holiday, I
Mhm.
didn't have. I had my daughter for Thanksgiving, but then my other daughter was in college, and then that first Christmas having her half the time and having to give it back to her mom for the second half of the day, like all those things just really spiraled me to a tough spot. So, as a guy that's been through a ton of hardship, let me tell you, your mindset is the most powerful tool in your tool shed, without a doubt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we have people probably listening today that are either in the sport, in the sporting industry or in business or interested in personal development and professional development. And the bottom line is we are all going to have setbacks. It's not all sunshine, lollipops, and roses. It's like, and the thing is, I know for me, if I had not been through my biggest, blackest moments like 35 years ago, I would not be the woman I am today. I say that the breaking of me was a making of me. And, it's just a very short sentence, but it just really exemplifies exactly how I felt about that really dark time where I was ready to take my own life. And
Mm-hmm.
but I had a vision of the woman I wanted to become, and I fell apart. I was like Humpty Dumpty. I fell off the wall. I was having anxiety attacks. I couldn't get out of bed. But I had friends that rallied around, and I back then we didn't talk about mental health, we didn't talk about inner critics, any of that stuff. So I felt like I was a freak, but I just had done a little bit of personal development work, and I just knew that I had to move to start with. If anyone is watching in this and they are feeling down and they are feeling depressed, get up and move. The body mind connection is huge. I had a friend that used to come and drag me out the door to go play tennis. And if I moved, you can't stay you can't stay in a really, really down state if you move your body. So at least if you're feeling down and you're listening to this, if you're in a dark place, A, reach out for help, professional help. B, go out and move. Find something you love to do. Walk the dog. Play some sort of a sport. Put music on and dance. Whatever it is, because you will move through the emotions if you give yourself permission to. We're all here on this planet, and we all have gifts to share. And if you are going through a hard time right now, I promise you, you're here for a reason. So please make sure that you reach out for help, because just like Marcus, just like myself, just like so many people, you're going to go through these tough times, but they are going to be the breaking of you is going to be the making of you. And mindset is everything. If you are just opening a business, you are going to go through some tough times. It's not going to just all of a sudden make money. If you are a sports coach, a basketball coach, or an athlete, as you said, Marcus, you're not going to win every time. So it's about really becoming your own best friend versus your own worst enemy, realizing that setbacks are just setups. Setbacks are just setups for success in the future, as long as you view it as that, and really taking control of your thoughts. Taking control of your thoughts and your beliefs and your behaviors, doing a behaviors and beliefs audit was what I did when I was really rebuilding my life. What beliefs did I take on board from my mom and dad that serve me? What ones don't serve me, etc. So, Marcus, this has been fabulous. I have loved this conversation. Just before we finish, you have a fantastic saying for people that would love to get in touch with you, which we're going to pop your website up on the screen shortly. You have a fantastic saying about what you would encourage people to do if they don't want to make the same mistakes as you.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, hire me so you don't end up like the 2012, 2013 version of me. Arrogant, egotistical, all these things. If you want to change your life, these three things, these three key takeaways, three key aspects are huge. Number one is your environment. Where are you spending your time? Number two is your input. What are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you bringing into your mind? Remember, your mind is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to protect you. So feed it good content to have a better state of mind. And number three is associations. Who are you hanging around? Have a great environment, have great input, have great associations. You can have the life that you want for yourself. But again, I tell people, hire me so you don't end up like the 2012, 2013 version of me.
Thank you. And for anyone that's, kind of watching this and going, oh, well, that's all well and good. You had a grandfather and a father that really set your mindset up really well. I had a father that was a former Australian cycling champion that really, set up my mindset. I was actually listening to, and they're probably thinking, well, I didn't have a parent like that. So how do I manage all of this? Anyone can choose just make a choice right now to change your mindset. I was watching an interview with Tamron Hall the other day, and she was interviewing Tina Knowles. She's got this new book out, The Matriarch. And Tina Knowles, for anyone that doesn't know, is Beyonce's mum. And she was talking about the people in her life that really lifted her up and really showed her that she could do what she could do in the world, because she really created an amazing empire for herself. And it wasn't her mum. She didn't say who it was. I'm about to read the book and I'll probably find out. But she said, I didn't learn that from my mum. I learned that I could achieve whatever I set my mind out with by somebody else. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be your mum or your dad. Just find that one person that believes in you.
Amen. I totally agree.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. We have totally stuck to time, so you can go see your beautiful daughter and pick her up from birthday parties and things. Please do, if we can pop Marcus's website on the bottom of the screen. Pardon me. If you're interested in making sure that you are not the 2012, 2013 version of Marques, then please contact him and I'm sure he will set you up for an amazing life. Thank you so much, Marques.
Thanks for having me.
Ciao for now.
Thanks for watching The Champion's Mindset with KATHRYN Orford. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week.